Google recently added landing page as a dimension to the GA4 Looker Studio connector. And they previously, you couldn't actually report on landing pages, or at least you couldn't use the standard GA4 dimension. So in this video, we're going to walk through, first of all, landing page reporting in GA4, and then how to create a landing page report in Looker Studio. And I actually broke this video into two parts because prior to Google adding landing page as a dimension in Looker Studio, I had created a first user landing page dimension. And I called it first user landing page because it is actually user scoped, not session scoped. And what that means is that what it would do is it would capture the first landing page that a user landed on, even if they visited the website multiple times. That first user landing page value would stay the same. And this is very comparable to first user source medium, first user default channel grouping, some of the other dimensions that you have in GA4. The standard landing page dimension is session scoped, which means that it's capturing the landing page that a user lands on for a given session, and that's comparable to the landing page dimension in Universal Analytics, if you were familiar with that. I do actually like having both to work with. Creating the first user landing page is going to be kind of complicated, so I decided to leave that as a second video. So let's get started with the standard dimension. So first, let's cover what you need to do if you don't actually see the landing pages report. It should show up automatically, but I have noticed that sometimes it doesn't. If you do have it, you'll see it here under engagement. If you don't have it, go to library. So you can see the report here, but what we want to do is go up to this lifecycle collection. That's the navigation over here. We're going to edit this collection. And then we're going to go and find the report on the right. And this is the one that we want. And I'm just going to drop this below pages. And I rename my pages report from pages and screen to just pages because I don't have a mobile app. Drop that there, save that. Save changes to current collection. And we'll go back. And now you'll have it here. Let's have a look. So a couple of things I wanted to show you. One is that I think there's a couple of customizations you can do to this report that are kind of helpful. What I'm going to do is click this pencil icon. You need to have either edit or admin permissions to be able to do this. I'm going to tweak the metrics a little bit. So revenue isn't relevant on my website. So I generally, as a matter of course, remove that from report columns. The other thing that I like is if we look session conversion rate. So landing page is session scoped. I mentioned that. So what we want is the session conversion rate, and then that'll show you the conversion rate for each of these conversions. The other one that I like to add, I think it's handy, is if you add event count, this does something cool. So let's go ahead and apply those. Then if we go down here and look, and I'm actually going to move the order of this, move that up here because that's kind of where we're used to seeing it from some other reports. So both conversions and event count, I think this is a really handy feature. It has this drop down so then we can see the specific events that happen. One thing to mention about that is that the way event count works with landing pages, I'm going to save this and save changes to current report. This sometimes happens, this landing page. To fix that, so we're going to save changes to current report. We actually do have to go back to the library to fix the naming. So here it is here. I'm going to rename and just change that to landing page. Save that. Okay, then we're going to go back and go to landing page report. So let's have a look at something kind of curious. So under event count, I'm going to pull up page view. So you see we've got in this, we'll look at the second row. We'll talk about the first row in a second. We've got this 2062 page views but only 1,786 sessions. And if you think about what landing page means, that's kind of weird. So what happens is that landing page is a session scope dimension. It's saying what page did a user land on. The other metrics we're looking at are all session metrics. So here what it's saying is that of those 1,786 sessions resulted in 2,062 page views. Not super impressive, but just to keep in mind that that doesn't, these metrics, like these events, are not events that happen on the landing page itself. They're events that happen during the course of a session because this dimension is session scoped. So landing page is a dimension that describes how a user landed on the website, and then everything else is things that they did during their session after landing on that page. So now let's talk about this first row here, this beastly not set issue. This is a subject of a lot of consternation among GA4 users. So let's unpack this a little bit. So I've identified 3 possible causes for why sessions go into that landing page not set row. The first and most common one is when there's a session that doesn't have a page view in it. This may sound a little weird, but I've discovered it's pretty common because what can happen is that a user visits the site and they leave the tab open and they do something else. They're inactive for more than 30 minutes. So their session has ended, and then they come back. They could do as little as close the tab, and that actually creates a new session, which is weird, but it does. Or maybe they scroll or watch a video or something and then leave. But whatever, in their second visit, in this instance, not really a second visit, but they don't actually load a new page, so there is no landing page associated with that session. The other 2 I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. They're kind of specific. One is when you create an audience triggered event when you create an audience. So when you create an audience in GA4, you have the ability to say, I want to send an event when a user is added to this audience. If that isn't familiar to you, don't worry about it. If it is familiar to you, have a look and see if those events are showing up in that not set row. Like you'll have to add an event column to that report and then look and see if that audience triggered event is mostly or completely showing up in that landing page not set row. The last is measurement protocol events. So the measurement protocol is an API you can use to send event data into GA4 from an external application. And you might do this if you wanted to do like product returns or something. You could use the measurement protocol to send that return information into GA4. Third parties use it a fair amount. And the example I'll give is call tracking platforms. I've worked with a couple different call tracking platforms that send call events into GA4, and those events show up in that landing page not set row. Depending on how they're using the measurement protocol, this doesn't automatically happen, but it definitely does happen in cases that I have observed. That's all I'm going to say on not set for now. I don't love it, but the issues I've talked about, in fact, there's no great way to prevent any of them. You can increase your session length to reduce the impact of the first one I described, but that has other implications that I don't love. So, like I say, we're going to live with it, filter it out, and maybe in another video, I'll do a deeper dive. But for now, let's have a look at the data in Looker Studio. We are in Looker Studio, and we're in just a blank report I called landing pages, a tab that I've already created. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you have that landing page dimension. You can check in your GA4 connector to see if it's there, but generally a good habit when you're working in Looker Studio, especially if it's been a little while, is to go to your data source and refresh fields. As I mentioned earlier, the landing page dimension is new in Looker Studio as of when I'm recording this video. So you would need to do this to get it to appear. I've already done that. So if I click refresh fields, it's not going to show here. So I'm going to go back into my dashboard. And now, so we're just gonna more or less recreate the report in GA4. And from here, hopefully you'll get the idea and be comfortable doing your own customization. So I'm gonna insert a table. And then I'm actually gonna pick this landing page and query string, which is gonna include URL parameters. Then I'm gonna get rid of views. I'm gonna add sessions. The users metric in GA4 is the equivalent of active users in the GA4 connector. So I'm going to pick that. I'm going to skip new users. Personally, I don't find it that useful. I want to recreate that average engagement time metric that is in the GA4 report, but that isn't actually a metric that's available to me in Looker Studio. So what I'm going to do is click this add a metric. I'm going to create a field. Then you could do this in the data source itself, just so that it's available in other reports. I actually usually tend to do, if it's a metric I think I'll be using again, I'll do it that way instead of just clicking here in the table itself and adding it here. But it's a little faster to show you. So I'm going to call this average time per session. And what I want is this user engagement is total engagement time, and I'm going to do that divided by sessions. Then I want to change the type here to duration in seconds. I'm going to apply that. Okay, so now we've got that. Then what is next? Conversions. The conversion rate I want, because the landing page is session scoped, I want the session conversion rate. I'd like to include that. So now I've got the columns that I want. Of course, you could go and add other columns if you find them useful. I'm going to just switch wrap text here just so we can see the names. I'll do a little bit of tweaking in a minute just to make this look a little prettier, but let's get rid of this not set row. That's the last most important thing that I want to be able to do. So I'm going to add a filter. I'm going to create a filter. I'm going to say exclude landing page not set. And I want to change this to exclude. Here I'm using this landing page in query string equal to and not set. And there you go. Okay, conversions went down. The reason for that is that those events that I showed you, the ones that are audience triggered, the 5 pages per visit or 3 minutes or more per visit, those are both flagged as conversions. And it turns out that a lot more of those happen than other conversion events on my site. So got rid of that. And just bear with me for a second. I'm going to do a little reformatting. Okay, that's good enough for now. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in an advanced filter for landing page and drag this out. And I'm going to change the name of it just to landing page. And I'm going to take the style. I like it better when the label's on the left. And let's just see one thing. Yeah, see how it has this drop shadow? It's kind of funny. If you go to style, it's going to show that it doesn't have a drop shadow. But if you click on this and then unclick on it, that'll go away. And I'm going to make this a little smaller. And so now, there we have it. There's our landing page report. So hopefully that gives you an idea, and you can take it from here and do your own stuff. But if there's anything that you'd like to be able to do and you're not sure how to do, just pop it in the comments. And that's it. All right, so there you go. That's the standard landing page dimension in Looker Studio. If you're feeling brave, I'll pop up a link to part 2, which goes into creating the first user landing page. And honestly, like, I do think it's useful. It is kind of complicated.
if you're just like, actually this is good, I'm good, that's totally fine. But I will say that I walked through some tactics that I think are really interesting and maybe overkill for this situation for you. Like maybe you don't actually need a first user landing page dimension that much. But I think you'll be really interested in what we do. So we're actually storing values in a cookie. We're setting that cookie with a custom HTML tag in Google Tag Manager, and then we're grabbing that value and we're adding it as a parameter to the configuration tag. Like we're doing really interesting things that if you follow along, I think it'll help your understanding of how the configuration tag works, some of what you can do in Google Tag Manager. So, like I say, you might find that worthwhile. In any case, if you found this video helpful, please click the like button, really appreciate it. And check out 2octobers.com for more videos. We also help people with GA4 Looker Studio. We do training, we do setup. So if any of that interests you, go to 2octobers.com and check us out. And thanks very much for watching.